Hey gang, it's that Tuesday time when we have our shenanigans live. What we're going to do today is we're going to work on Halloween again. I know we're getting close, so we have to make some sort of celebratory images. The competition that I'm in every week, they decided to do 2 Halloween weeks back to back because there's another competition I did not enter that was kind of an aside thing and it used a lot of people's time. So what we're going to do today is we're going to approach this from, again, a little bit different standpoint, because each time I do one of these live streams, I feel like I need to feed you something new. And today we're going to do something where I want to use my local install of Stable Diffusion. So I did a video, I think it was last week, on how to install it locally. And I know a lot of people run into problems where they're trying to use with an AMD card, or they're running into it with Macs or whatever. There's another solution, and one that I actually use, even though I have a pretty decent machine here. If I want to do any sort of Stable Diffusion stuff locally while I'm streaming, I can't do that. It breaks. Or at least the stream breaks, I should say. Stable Diffusion always wins. So I use a product called RunPod, and they don't sponsor this broadcast or anything, but I wanted to show it to you because it is very inexpensive, but yet you can get a beast of a machine and use it for like 20 or 30 cents an hour. So you can do a lot of work in 20 to 30 cents an hour, especially if you're trying to do something custom like train models or do anything like that. And a huge thanks to Rocket Queen 71, who just joined the stream as a member, as a channel patron. So thank you very much. So let's take a look here. I'll show you what I'm working on. I'll go to the side of my head cam up here because I look at my screen when I'm working. We're probably gonna use Lexica again today. It's just a point of departure. I like this for brainstorming, but only for kind of the sense of what I want to look at, not so much like the pictures themselves. Anyway, so RunPod, and let me find it. It was on this thing and I closed it. It's just runpod.io. I did put a link down in the description if you want to try it out. Again, it helps the channel, but it doesn't cost you anything. But what you basically do is you can use any sort of a server they have. So there's like this beast of an RTX A4000, 5000s, and they go up. But you can see the price here, 44 cents, 32 cents, very inexpensive. So about like 25 bucks worth. And I have used it a bit. As you can see, it's down. But it's a beast of a machine, and you can run the current version of Automatic 1111 without having to worry about installing it locally and doing anything. So if you're spending hours trying to get it work on your machine, what is your time actually worth? Well, it's probably worth more than, say, 20 cents an hour. So I like this site for that. And you can also get more than one, which I don't believe Stable Diffusion uses more than one GPU at this time. I could be completely wrong about that, but from my understanding is it only uses one. So what I did is I just have one going here. So if I go to my pods, and you can see this, and I'm actually running it in a window here. So I had to remove the URL because once you have the URL open, everyone can use it, which isn't great. You can actually password protect that. And I've seen people try and use that share ability. Be aware, though, that there are some abilities to execute codes on those machines. So I wouldn't like broadcast that to the world and say, hey, come to this URL and use my machine to generate images, because that does invite some ne'er-do-wells to come in and do some horrible things to you. But as my typical test, I always do the box of rocks, and you see it works just fine. So that's all fine. You can load in other models as well, but you use a different sheet for that, and that's called a Jupyter Notebook. So when you launch this, you can launch it as either just going right to Stable Diffusion, or Jupyter Notebook. Jupyter Notebook means that I can get to the Stable Diffusion directory just like you would if you were looking at it on your local machine. But they have a lot of the basic models installed, but I wanted to move over another one, and you can see it's slow moving. So I don't know that I would use it like this permanently. I think for $6 or $8 a month, you can keep the model or keep this pod alive, but it won't be running until you start it, and then it'll pick a machine and go. So it's kind of cool that way. I don't want to pay the storage fee, so I just rebuild it every time. So it seriously took like 4 minutes for it to start up. It was no big deal. So, hey, Andrew. All right, so what we're going to do today is we're going to use this, and we're going to make some Halloween imagery, because I love the local install of Stable Diffusion if you're trying to do a lot of images. And that's kind of my thing that I do when I have a prompt that I love. And I do is I'm sure you all have one where you find a prompt and it's producing like 80% of the images that come out of it are just amazing. And I have found a few of those that are like my magic bullets of things that I have really loved. I'm like, wow, this is awesome. I want to use those more and more often. In fact, I should probably look at moving up some of my script that I have, because I have a couple of scripts. So I just did a video on that where you can add things like wildcards to the prompts. And some of those are just ones that I love. Now, there are some styles in here too, and I haven't really talked about this interface very much. I want to do a whole video series on this because there's a lot to it. And I think a lot of people glance over a lot of the nuances of what is here. So I'm going to talk about a bit of that today as we make our Halloween image. So I wasn't real happy with the image we did last time. I'm really picky. So I want to win competitions. I don't just want to enter them. Even though there's no cost for me to do this every week, it's just a nice challenge for me. So I thought we'd do is we look through Lexica and try and find some inspiration. Again, I don't need it to be a Halloween image like this. Just kind of look around and see what they're doing here. This is very interesting. He's got well worn. This is actually kind of an interesting prompt. I was getting all ready to poo on it, and then I was like, oh, look at that. Looks actually pretty decent. So we can copy that prompt, and we can just kind of start this as a point of departure if we'd like. Just gonna kind of look around here a bit. I mentioned the other day in one of my streams that when you're working with a specific artist, like I can't remember the one I used as an example, but a lot of that person's work has women in it. And when you use that person, just like if you use an architect, for example, if you use an architect and you're trying to do a portrait, you may not end up with a portrait because, again, that person is known for architectural photography. The portrait is going to get kind of bizarre. It's like it's not really going to figure out how to do that. That concept is there, but we use it in our favor. For example, I photograph women. That's my full-time job. So what I want to do is take and say, can I pick an artist who works primarily with women, but yet use the style of someone else that doesn't shoot women, and kind of combine the two and have women randomly show up? And when this happens, I get actually really great images. It's kind of an odd way to approach it, but I think that's kind of where I'm going with it. Like, let's look here. What do we got? Like, I'm gonna ignore the whatever we got here, but I'm just looking at the colors. So Peter Moorbacher, if you're not familiar with his work, again, I buy his work. Like, I'm one of his Patreons. The characters tend to be gods. That's his whole concept, or angels, I should say. And they're always like very big in the scene, and they have like very long legs or tendrils or capes or things like that. So that's a lot of what this is causing. Octane render isn't really being used very much here. That's, again, makes it look kind of rendered. DeviantArt, sure. Alphonse Mucha, again, more of your stained glass type of illustration. That kind of, if I was going to use the word stained glass, that's kind of what I mean. Not familiar with Maxfield. Rainbow Shift. Okay. Well, all right. Interesting. I'm just trying to find something that speaks to me. What have we got here? Greg Rutkowski. I do like the girl, but we're not going to use a Greg Rutkowski as a point of departure. I want to find something that's got a lot of detail but smaller, like this. Let's start with this prompt. So let's go back. What I want to do is I want to start and work backwards. So we have a prompt we know is somewhat successful. Like, it produced a nice image. I don't want that image, but I want to use parts of this. So for example, we don't need a rusty futuristic spaceship on a landing pad. I'm looking for like a haunted cave, perhaps, or haunted structure. Just go with there. Surrounded by lush jungle, sure. We're not going to put anything in the foreground. Golden hours, sunbeams. Okay. Volumetric light, as you know, I like that one quite a bit. Hyper detailed, okay. Art station, fine. CG Society, okay. These are your artists, is the way to look at it. That's kind of what these are. They're your artists. 8K, okay. We're going to use Euler with, say, 30 steps. That's enough to get the point across there. And again, I tend to like things wider or taller rather than square. I find that when I do square images, I just rarely enjoy them. Sometimes I'll get something good, but I know in MidJourney, you kind of have to do that. You got to go for the square so you can get 4 of them, and then you can kind of use that as a point of departure to kind of work and kind of drill down into those imagery. Here, we don't have to worry about that. It doesn't matter how many images we generate, Okay, that's one of the things about this that I absolutely love. We're going to generate a mess of images, and we only need one to work. So it's that whole throwing darts. How many darts do you have to throw before you hit the bullseye? If I throw 100 darts, how many bullseyes will I get? You know, if my prompt is good, that's kind of like I'm taking time to aim, but I don't necessarily need to, right? I mean, I can throw darts like an idiot, and I'll hit the bartender and, you know, maybe a couple waitresses. Eventually, I'll hit the board, and that it's like that whole monkey typing Shakespeare work. Eventually, you'll come up with something. But this is like your point of departure. It's like, how good are you at aiming? Okay. So haunted structure. I do want to add creepy to this. I won't add the word scary, and I still want to find. An artist that produces mostly pictures of women, because I do want a woman in it. We're not using Greg Rutkowski. Oh yeah, let's use one from a game here, maybe. That's kind of almost the same idea. Is can we pull something from something that has a female forward theme? Let's use that. Let's throw that in here. On the structure with. Go. And again, I'm gonna want to go. I kind of want to go. I always like the portrait. So by the way, because this is a 24 gig machine we're on RunPod, I think that's what it was, isn't it? We have 29 gigabytes of video RAM on this thing. So we could probably make this thing gigantic. We don't pay per CPU use, right? We can make it whatever we want to make it. Let's do a small one here first, and then we'll discuss the problems that happens when you try and do that. Because I'm sure you have all done that, and you're like, why are there more heads than I want there to be? And I want to talk about how to get around that too, because that's a problem I think a lot of us run into. So let's just run one of these beautiful ones here and see what we end up with. Okay, so yeah, it's okay. This volumetric light is a bit much in here, I think. And let's make her more important. So to make things more important with this interface, you simply put parentheses around it. The more parentheses you put around it, the more important it is, right? Let's do a demon. Angel. So she's a beautiful dark angel. I don't want to do demon because that's going to get, there's going to be boobs everywhere. I can't really do that in YouTube. Hey, that's pretty satisfying. Okay. All right. So we got something as a point of departure. Let's fix it. But I don't mind a lot of it. Like, it looks okay. Let's do another one. Again, this thing is fast because it's 24 gig of video RAM in it. Okay. I'm actually pretty happy with the feel of the image. Let's drill down and try and perfect it a bit. So I think the golden hour part of this is taking it a bit on the warm side. I'm going to get rid of that and just kind of run another one here. It got a good look to it though. Like, I'm not unhappy with that. We don't really have much of our woman popping in here yet though. So let's do elegant. Dark Angel. All right, so we need an artist again. We still need an artist that draws women. Archer. Yeah, we can use Archer. Yeah, we'll get it. His name isn't really Archer, but there we go. That's looking pretty. I just want to get something good. Okay, so I'm happy with this. I just think we need to do is throw a lot at it, right? If we keep regenerating this, we're going to end up with something I think we like. Let's teach you a couple tricks here with this interface, because I think once you kind of get used to this, you can make images quickly or get set up to make images quickly. For example, let's say that I really like most of this, like this part here. I use this a lot. What you can do is you can go over and you can create a style from that. So you can save the style and you can give it a name. call it test. Now, if later on I'm doing something else, like I type this in, I get this done. Okay, what do I want to do? I can pick test and then apply it. And now it will automatically load all those positive and negative right from the get-go there, which is pretty cool. So you can save a whole bunch of styles that you use often. Instead of, like me, I have a keep document and I keep everything in that document. This eliminates the need for me to do that. So I can just go and get whatever I need to and then grab it from this drop down. And you've got two styles, so you can apply multiple styles. So if you've got one or the other, I'm not really sure why they do this. I would imagine that every time you apply it, it would just append it to the end. But I'm guessing automatic 1111 strategies that you can apply up to two different of these kind of keeper styles. Steps 30, this is all fine. And we can change our sampling method. I did a whole video on sampling methods and kind of which one to use for what. You really can't go wrong. It's just each one has a little bit different look. Pretty happy with these. Okay, so let's talk about getting much more resolution into these. Let's say, because I am on a big machine here, let's do 1020 by 1080. This is going to take us a minute, obviously, but we got 24 gig of video RAM, so we shouldn't have any trouble with this. It might just take a minute. If it takes too long, we'll abandon it, but see how it does. While we're looking at this, there's a couple of other scripts. Let's see what scripts are involved in here. Okay, they don't have a lot of scripts in here. Might change that. Here's my Jupyter notebook, and let me see if I can find my scripts locally here. They're the exact same scripts that I talked about in my video I did. I'm just going to grab all of these. So I need to go into Diffusion. Scripts. Here's all the ones that start out. Copy these in here. Yeah. These are the duplicates. I just grabbed the whole darn directory. Okay, and then we're going to create a folder in here. Call this wildcards. It's sweating a little bit right now. We're giving it something to do. So I'm going to grab all these. These are all, again, from that video I did the other day where I just grabbed and did a bunch of emotions or adjectives or whatever it might be. I'm still building out this list, trying to come up with things that I want to use as wildcards. If we go back in here, how we doing? Okay, we got our image done. So there's a 1920 by 1088 image. We could see, oops. Oh, that's the tiling one. Tiling, just get it big. Pretty decent. We have to work on the faces and so on, but a lot of different details. I'm actually surprised we didn't get more than one girl in the scene. And that happens because all of this stuff is, oh, my camera turned off. Weird. Sorry about that. Yeah, my camera's definitely dead. All right, well, we'll just get rid of it. All of the images for these things are trained on 512 square. So if it has to make more than two 512 squares, it will try and duplicate or come up with another picture to put in the top or bottom of that if it's taller or wider than 512. That's why you get more than one head. So if you're sitting in here and you're typing in things like one head, that is not going to help because it's only doing one head. It's just doing one head more than once. So it's the same thing as people who put figured. Like, what does that exactly mean? It doesn't know how to draw fingers, so it does its best job, but it doesn't look at the fingers and go, oh, hey, that's pretty messed up. I guess I just don't know how to draw. Yeah, we know. So putting disfigured isn't going to change it and make it suddenly great at hands. It just isn't good at hands right now. Now, I had this brilliant idea the other day to take and train my own model on hands. So I have whole bunches of hands, and I started that process, but I didn't get a great result. So I think I need to go back and look at how I was doing it because there's definitely tools available. We've got 3 different ways to do that. We can train an embedding, which is one way to kind of add like yourself and stuff. And I'll do a whole video on these things. Hyper network, which is more like replacing the actual model up here with a separate version that is trained specifically on your face or whatever it is you're training on, versus this, which is just a kind of a lightweight version. And then there's aesthetics as well, which are down. Actually, they're not on this version, which is fine because it doesn't really work great, because I don't think a lot of people understand what it's supposed to do. And I'm one of them. Like I played with that thing for probably an hour and a half this morning, and I cannot figure out the benefit of it yet. So there's something to be said there, but we'll work on that as it gets along. I even tried to read the technical paper, and there aren't any. So it's like this void of information on that specific thing. All right. So that being said, I'm still not satisfied with this. I want a picture. I want a woman in this picture. Let's just do this way. I'm trying to get something that is going to accomplish my goal here. I'm just looking through my MidJourney stuff to see if there was something in here that I could use. But you know what? I'm kind of MidJourneyed out right now. I'm getting so much more satisfaction out of the Stable Diffusion goodies than I am out of the other one. Jellyfish. That's kind of a cool idea. A jellyfish woman. I like it. Boris Vallejo, great artist. Favorite. Growing up. Grab this part of the prompt here. I'm pretty motivated by that. We've also gotten some cool patterned backgrounds from 1024 by 1024. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of really great happy accidents I've had happen because of that exact same thing. Yeah, don't be scared that it might duplicate things. Hear from this. Yeah, may I leave him in. WLOP is another artist I support on Patreon, but his images are not represented very well. Although they might be now in 1.5, but in 1.4 he was basically missing. Fantastic artist. Let's try this again, and I'm going to actually go into settings, and we're going to turn on the not safe for work, just because we're on YouTube here. We don't want random boobles popping up. All right, so there we go. We have a whole forest for our women in this one. But I really wanted one big picture of one woman with a whole lot of detail. So that's the thing. Anyone able to explain beta, light, upscale, light options between them? Yeah, I can talk about that a bit. We'll probably move to MidJourney after we get a prompt here and see if we can get it to work over there just as well. But basically, your beta upscale isn't as grainy as some of the other ones were. They're playing with an idea of how to upscale without adding a lot of that noise that MidJourney is famous for, which a lot of people love. And it's one of the things I really loved about MidJourney, at least initially. It starts to kind of be all over everything now, so it's kind of driving me a little wacky, but initially I really enjoyed it. It's one of those things that makes MidJourney lovely. Well, the light upscale tries to not make as much of that. I'm sorry, the beta upscale. The light upscale is kind of a step back from that. It's not as aggressive as the beta upscale. And then you've got the fully detailed upscale is the one where it adds all the stuff, all the things. That one looks like it's got a little, there are some boobs in that one. No. Okay, but we've got a forest for all people, and I like this a lot better. It's looking a lot better. So, all right, so how do we use this? Or we can do restore faces, which I like. There's two methods for restoring faces. So if we go into the settings, there's two options here, CodeFormer and GFPGAN. So GFPGAN produces, it's trained on faces, and it does a very good job of restoring a human face, but it does so at a very, almost like brutal method. It fixes the eyes, it fixes the mouth, it fixes the nose, but it removes any and all flaws. Like it does not look believable, but if done lightly, like if you put this on and then restored it, say half or 30%, I think it's a pretty neat effect. However, CodeFormer is another one, and I think it's fantastic. It adds the little bits of flaws to the face as it does its restoration. It fixes the eyes and does all the same thing, but I think that it's more my style. We'll put it that way. So I would put this all the way down to well, you know what? Yeah, let's put it all the way. I'm going to leave it a half. I'm arguing with myself. We'll leave it right there. And then if you want to move the restoration out of video RAM after it's done, it can move on and be working on the next image while the face is being processed by CodeFormer. So on my local install, I have this set. So this is good enough for me. Here. Now, we got a whole bunch of girls, but I really want one tall one. And that's where this high-res fix comes in. Now, how this works is you're going to produce a smaller picture. So think of it like this is what, 1920 tall. That means 512 is what, probably right here, right? So a 512 square, which this image, remember this whole thing is trained on a 512 square. We need to basically make it so that our girl fits in a 512 square. So we know that the height of this is not going to be exceeding 512, right? It should be there or under. So I think 512 is your maximum height. And then our width, if we make it too wide, again, I don't really like squares. It may produce like more of a face shot because I'm giving it a square. If I want more of a full body portrait, I would probably force it to do so by giving it more narrow channel to produce its image. So what it's going to do is it's going to produce an image that's 512 tall by 384 wide. And it's going to try and fit this prompt into there, which should work. But what it's going to do then is after it's got that partially completed, it's going to stop. It's going to blow that image up to this full resolution and then try and denoise it with this strength, which means a 0.7 is a pretty aggressive noise, which means it's going to change it quite a bit. But it shouldn't change it far enough to completely undo what we did. But if we put this down to 0.2 or 0.1, it's going to stay pretty grainy because, again, it just upscaled it. It needs to add some detail. So we can't really go too low. But if we go too high, we completely undermine what we just did here. So let's try that. So you're going to see that it's going to draw two images. It's going to start with the first one. It's going to rip right through it. And we should hopefully see the preview here. I'm not really sure if that's going to see. I believe I had the previews turned on in here. Looks like this is all enabled properly, but we may not get the smaller version. We'll just have to wait for it. But it's going to do is it's going to do the small one. So if you do this, if you run this locally, I don't know why it's not working that way here. Then you'll see the kind of crappy version appearing, and then it'll take it away and then bring it all the way back to this size and then begin to add detail to it. Time for a drink. I'm trying to figure out my camera while it's while we're off here. Oh, you go. I'm going to plug it in. How about we do that? I don't think it needs to be plugged in too much. I'll give it a whirl. While we're waiting, let me see if I can get this fixed. Still waiting on it here. Sorry. Hey, there we go. Got it. I think battery just died. It's taking freaking ever. Because it has to draw two images basically, and then kick it out. By the way, there's a brand new image browser that had just been added. That's pretty cool. You can bring in kind of, if you don't want to use Bridge, which I really love, see all the different images we've generated. So, and then you can click on one, for example, and it'll bring in the prompt, and then you can send it back to the text to text or the imaging image to text or image to image, so you can play with it if you'd like. So pretty cool. I'm not really sure what collect does. If you bang on it, nothing happens yet. So yeah, I'm not really sure where that's going, but figure that out at some point. Okay, there we go. So it looks like it kind of worked. I think our denoising is still a bit aggressive because we should end up with only one person. So we can knock this down, say point. Wish we could see this working. Maybe we work at a smaller resolution here so it's not so outrageous. Do 1280 by We can maybe bring this back up again. We're actually still waiting on it. Finish here too. This restore faces, for example, is trying to go in right now and restore the faces. Look at how much RAM. 24 gig of freaking RAM on this machine. Isn't that nuts? For 40 cents an hour? I think that's outrageous. So anyway, I put a link to in the description for using this service. I think this is fantastic. For sitting and generating a whole lot of images overnight, this is like, and that's really what I do. I sit there and I just let this thing go all night long and see what we get. While we're waiting for that, maybe I can bring it. A new version of Bridge just came out, and I use Bridge a lot, and I absolutely hate it. I hate the new version of Bridge. It's kind of broken. It's very difficult to get it to work. It likes to blink. It's doing all kinds of crazy stuff like that, which drives me a little wacky. But trying to use the thing is difficult, I think. Exceedingly difficult. While we're waiting for this, it's taking its time, isn't it? Just a second here, and I will have something for you to look at, other than me staring at a screen over here, which you can't see. So here are some, for example, that I ran overnight. So I do is I just build a prompt that I really love and then sit and just let this thing run amok all night long. And I'm not going to get 2,500 keepers. I'm going to get a couple. But the ones I get are going to be like, yeah, like I'm really happy with all of these. But I mean, you can see I've been collecting them for a while. So what I do is I use the stars in here inside of Bridge to kind of keep track of things. So I've got some that my ones that they need love. Like there's something just a little wonky. Like there's a hand that's too close to something and I need to remove that. So these are, my green are like the ones that need Photoshop. I have some with 4 stars. Those are the nudes. I got to be careful with those. I don't show those to anybody. And then the 5-star ones are ones that I absolutely love, but maybe didn't give a color rating to yet. So there's just some of these that are really good. But I have all these prompts I've been generating over time that there are just so many in here. 476 of those that I love. I don't know why this is taking so freaking long. Interrupt this. Taking too long. I am unsatisfied. I don't know what I broke, but I apparently broke it. We can go to the well, I actually can't do that while I'm on streaming. Let me pull this off because it shows the full URL for things. Let me look at the log here. See if there's anything weird going on that I need to worry about. Not doing anything. It's completely knockered. Or reload it. I'll just reload it. There we go. Image browser, load it here. I just want the prompt back. It's more than what I want. Grab this. Grab our prompt here. Actually, just pull the whole thing to image to text there, something like that. So I like doing that because it's easy to drag that in. All right, so let's back this out again. Let's try that again. So we'll go to 1280 and by 768. Yeah, don't do that. Okay, and so we're doing high res fix, and we'll try this again. Thanks for everybody for coming in today and hanging out with me. We're working on random stuff. Appreciate it. And it isn't very Halloweeny yet, but I'm you waited 5 minutes after scrubbing just to let you know that settings image preview isn't enabled. I thought it was. Show preview. I just enabled, what I did is I typed in preview in the search there. And it shows up here. Images generated in a batch as a grid. I don't. Everything else is done. The second text field is anything negative, like if it's doing something you don't like. Like we could, for example, this is a jungle. By the way, we did get our one woman. So what it did is, again, I wish I could show you the low resolution version of this, but it's going to load in a very small picture and try and render what we want. Show image creation slider. You guys are helping me out here. Show image. I must be missing it. Oh, show image creation and simply self. There we go. Yes, you are correct. Let's do it for. There we go. Thank you. I sit there going, why can I see it locally, but I can't see it at here? Do another one. Good idea. All right, hopefully 3 is good enough. Yeah. So, and it's using the same seed, so we need to clear that so we can roll the next iteration. We'll use a random seed. But you can see it's making a very small version of this, and then it's going to go and try and rebuild it using this denoiser. Let's roll it again. So this is how you make really big images that only have one head. So there's our kind of low res one, and you're going to see it's going to disappear and it's going to come back, and it's not going to be the same image, which sometimes is super frustrating because you're looking at it and you're like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's so oh, what's that? That's not what I ordered. You know, it's not what I had. This is interesting. See, the denoising was aggressive enough that we actually got 2 bodies out of it. So if we drop it down to 0.5 and do it again, not that we'll get the same picture. But this is how you can create some pretty big imagery. So it's going to start here, and then it's going to go, and you see it's got enough of a denoise here that it keeps your arm up, keeps your head in about the same position, and goes from there. Oh, that's okay. So the style of artist here, I don't care for. Like, I don't like the treatment of the face or this kind of stuff. But again, it's your whatever you're into. Boris Vallejo was an amazing artist. So let's stick with Boris Vallejo here. And let's add style on. I don't know if style of, by, and so on. It seems to be about the same thing at the end of the day. But we do use the word and between these. Let's do Seb McKinnon. That. And so this lush jungle, I don't need that right now. Let's do cemetery. Right? Cemetery, not commentary. Well, run it again. Yeah, so the reason things get cut off is because, again, it was trained on a 512 image. So when they did the cropping, my camera died again. All right, thank you. I was going to turn it off and let the battery catch up a bit. So when they did the 512 cropping for these, they kind of cropped in the middle and not around the head. So what you end up with is imagery that doesn't have a head or has the head lopped off because of that issue. Terrible image. Let's do this again. Getting all kinds of nakedy ladies here. And again, I don't really like this style. So this is the reason this is happening is Boris Vallejo, right? Boris Vallejo paints this type of woman. That's what he's known for. Let's go find. Let's bring up another cool tool. I have some of these great little tips and tricks sites that I keep. Trying to find one that's going to be helpful for everybody here. Just so many. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to keep them all on my website. Down below, there's a link to my blog where I have been keeping a lot of. Here's a taxonomy site that I like quite a bit. That you can use for kind of just deciding what you're making. use this a bit, but artists more than this right now. I closed everything by jiggling the mouse. There we go. Good idea, Scott. Scott's having problems today. Little technical things driving Scott nuts. Find something. I don't want a photo. That's pretty messed up. It's almost a Halloween thing to itself, isn't it? It was pretty funny. Yeah, I want to show you guys the outpainting tool, but we got to make an image first that we love, and I don't love any of the ones we've created so far. I need an artist that doesn't frustrate me. Try who this is. Look, that's the other thing about Lexica I love is just click on something and drill down into it. Yeah, this is cute. Cute is the word I want to use. And I have my somewhere Stable Diffusion is hanging around. Yeah, I think it does work a lot better now that it's received some love. Okay, there we go. This is actually working pretty well. Not my style of art typically, but I don't mind. So it started out with the rough, so we made sure we didn't get two heads, and then it upscaled it and then filled in all the detail according to this denoise. So 0.5 worked out pretty well, I think. So now we can send this over to Inpainting, for example. And inside of Inpainting, we can do all kinds of fancy stuff. So down in Inpainting, there's a script down here called Outpainting Mark II. And what you can do is you can designate different directions. Now, I've found that if I try and do 4 at the same time, it doesn't work real great. So I tend to try and do just 1 or 2. Like usually I do up because most of the time it lops the top of the head off, right? But we can go with all 4. And restore faces, I tend to leave most of this as it is. And we'll see what it comes up with. So once we got it where we want it, then we just hit generate. Should give us something amazing. We'll see it as it's working too. So it tends to draw, like it'll bring the image in and it'll try and draw this side here. Sometimes this works great. Sometimes it doesn't. Like there's another wing here. Who knows whose wing that is, but it doesn't. Yeah, so this is a really horrible demonstration of this, isn't it? But normally this works pretty darned well. I have used this to restore the tops of heads on so many images. It has saved me repeatedly. Like I really liked it. This is a really great demonstration of this. The reason being is we want to use a different model. There's a different model for Inpainting, and that's the one I was trying to upload up here. And you can see it's not there. There's a special model for Inpainting, and I don't have it. So it's not present in this Jupyter, or in this in this run pod right now. What I'll probably do is get it up there and then leave it alone so that we can use it. But there is down here, there's another option, if this isn't working, called the poor man's outpainting. And what this is going to do is it's just going to kind of use what's there now and go forward. And this tends to work okay. I have had pretty good luck with this, giving me rough parts of things. And it seems to work okay. Yeah, that's true. You could remove the... when you're rebuilding this, you can remove the parts that might generate another angel. But this, I tend to leave the prompt alone because I want to get the rest of the head, usually. That's my problem, is I'm missing the top of a face. Something like that. See, and this does an okay job. It just seems to not want to finish. So what I tend to do here is, when I'm doing my sampling, is I just pull it all the way up. I know that it seems counterintuitive, but I'm saying, can you just take more time working on these edges, please? So if I do that, let's try that. Yeah, you need the checkpoint up here. Plus, there's a new VAE out. I'm going to actually do a video on how to do that. We haven't really talked about that at all yet. the aesthetic part, and I'm not talking about the aesthetic filter on the front here either. Yeah, see, this is pretty horrible, but interesting, but not what I want. This is not a very good Halloween image. Let me just say that right now. I'm very dissatisfied with my choices of artists so far. I need to find an artist that I like in here. You know, we did install wildcards, so let's do that. So let's go down here, script. Let's do, oh, didn't I? Thought I installed wildcards. I do not have them. Let's reload. Not sure if that's what the one I need to check. Check the other one. Rebuild this. I broke it. There we go. Other than Lexica, are there other resources for prompts you can recommend? There are so many. I have so many. And I was trying to find one while you guys were waiting for this thing to load. Let me see if I can find another one. There are so many of these that are decent, but the main one I was using for the longest time is the Google Sheet. Let me see if I have that. Artist reference is still up. There, it was up for a while and then it got taken down. Yeah, the one by Syncarnate got moved. Use this one. This is for MidJourney, but that still probably going to get us where we need to go. I just want something that's a little more picturesque. Kind of sketchy for me. When there's the word artist in it, that's not handy. These spreadsheets, I've gotten a bit out of control. There's some really nice websites that have started up, but I don't have them here. Okay, we restarted this. Do we have our scripts? We do. All right. Yeah, we have our dynamic prompting. So that's what this. There's some sort of strange bug where this is showing up. Let's do that. So let me go grab a prompt here from a recent thing. We'll make something better here. Thanks for dealing with this short interruption while we try and organize ourselves this morning. Got so many of these that I've created that are a little bit on the nudie side. Cognizant of own prompt again. So I always use beautiful or elegant. I like the look of that. It's one of the find it for you in the chat here. I don't think it's a great doc right now. It's kind of getting broken. Elegant vampire, haunted mansion. Volumetric, spell it right. Volumetric, scary, by artist. So I have a bunch of scripts that we just moved over, right? And artist is one of them. So if we click on artist, you see it's just a list of artists, right? So we do artist by. We're doing by and artist that, and let's get rid of the word scary here. Adjective. Then I'm going to add a few to the end. We'll add 4K, so it's that highly detailed, which adds a little bit of zing to it. This channel may forbid showing of URLs unless you're mod. Yeah, it should allow you to see anything that I post. I think that works out. Highly detailed. I think that's probably good enough. Again, I don't like them square. Never have any luck with square. Try this. CFG 7's where I like it. I know some people swear on a bigger one, but I like that one. Use DDIM of 30. Let's see what kind of magic we get out of this. But isn't this thing cool? This is 40 cents an hour. We can rent this machine. Okay, so it's Bougereau. It doesn't look like a Bougereau to me. I'm a huge Bougereau fan. Liam Long. Sheeta. So again, we just kind of throwing stuff at this. So what you would do if you want to let this run all night long, you've got a couple options. The easiest one, and I didn't know this for the longest time, is if you right click on the generate button, you can hit generate forever. That's it. And now it'll sit there and hum right along all night long. So you can go to sleep and come back later. And again, we're getting a lot of random artists, so this may not be our favorite thing ever, but let's just kind of let that run. Let me go and see here. We've got... I wanted to see if we get to JSON. Okay, so although we don't do coding on this channel, the JSON is this is all the configuration on your local installation, and this is only yours, right? So these are the defaults for things, or their maximum settings. So if you want to go over 2048, for example, you could go in here and you can change it. So one of the ones that I really like to modify in here was the max batch count. I put to 500. So that way I don't really have to edit I don't have to run forever because it's going to fill my machine up overnight. But if I can put it to 500, I can set it to 300 or whatever. I'll walk around and be done. But the thing you got to be careful of is you do not want to, you don't want to alter files in the rest of this grouping, because every time you do a pull and it updates the interface, you won't get the file you modified because it goes, oh, your local version is sacred to you. Let's not change it. Well, that's not very handy for us. We want to be able to pull forever, and have it always be updated. Well, that's what this config is generated for you locally, which is great. So I just go in here, and again, if you're annoyed by every time you open the URL or every time you load the interface, you're like, I really want to change something. This is where all that stuff is. So if you're like, well, I really want to change my all these different things in here, whatever you want to change it to, go ahead. So that's kind of handy. And there's a lot of, again, as different things are loaded into the system and they keep building it every day, it's getting better and better. You're going to end up with a lot of options in here. So we can go into our image browser here and hit load and see what kind of train wreck it has generated for us so far. Again, this is what I do all night long. Have I posted a video or consider posting? Oops, it went away. Can't see. Oops, see the message that you posted. It was too big, I think. I was starting to read it and it went away. Oh, you retracted it. Sorry. Anyway, so here's what we have so far. So we can click on one of these and it will show us the artist that it used, which is pretty cool. So just being able to use your arrows to kind of go through here and find one that you love. And then if you find one you really enjoy, then you can just go back and start from that as a point of departure. So a way to find something to work with, like we're sitting here struggling this morning. This is a way we can get around that. I wish it kind of auto refreshed because it's still working in the other window when we're in here. Very Japanese like. That's kind of cool. Just let it run. Obviously, these are lower resolution, but they're good enough for what I'm trying to do, which is figure out what I want to make. Movie posters, very nice. There's more examples down here. It shows you all the wildcards that you loaded, but I did a whole video on how to use this system. So if you are new to this and don't understand what it is that's going on there, that is available. Just did it a couple days ago. That's really... Look at all the random body parts going on there. Kind of like that one, actually. Let's go back and play with that one. Yeah, of all the things to play with on YouTube, that's probably the most dangerous one, right? That's going to be like random boob. It's so messed up. Oh, this one's interesting too. Oop, where'd it go? Not the one I clicked on. Yeah, I kind of like that one. Let's send that one to text to image. And we have to, I'm not sure if that'll actually stop. It did not stop. So you have to right click to cancel generate forever. Otherwise it's not gonna. That work? It looks like it has calmed down. Okay. All right. So this is back to the image that I had a minute ago, I believe. We used this one here. So just send to text to image. So ignore this preview. There we go. Oh, it's a Vermeer. Isn't that fun? Okay. Now, if there's anything negative that we don't want to see in here, we could put that in there. How many goodies to the local hosted SD installation which do not come with the install package? Have I considered posting a video showing those things? I have posted a few. So the one that we're working with now is scripts. So inside of scripts, I did a video on how to load custom scripts because I do use those. I use custom scripts. I also have a couple of other things that I use quite often, but that's the big one. Scripts. So the way 1111 is doing everything is that it comes down into two forms: extensions or scripts. So scripts are here, and then extensions are going to be in here. So this is where the custom extensions will go. So even like the browser, this browser is now an extension. So this code base has been moved, but this version on RunPod here is a bit old. I tried to do a poll with RunPod and it doesn't quite work that way. So you're going to deal with whatever version they have here, but still, this is a 24 gig machine we're using for 40 cents an hour. So again, if you missed that when I started this up, we're using runpod.io. There's a link in the description for using it. Again, it supports a channel, but they're not a sponsor or anything. It's just one of those things I use a lot when I want to, again, do something, but I don't have the memory in here. So we've got 24 gig of RAM and we're using 5 of it. All right, so let's run another one of these with this. Oops. I still have that random selected, don't I? Darn it. Okay, I like that one. So let's go back, clear. We'll clear the seed and we'll get rid of the dynamic prompting, because what we're going to do is we're going to run with this here and see what it comes up with. So we're just going to, because I like this style. So we used a random assortment of artists. Yeah, see, this is speaking to me a little bit better than the other one. So again, now we can right click and say generate forever. And then we go to sleep and wake up the next morning and our hard drive is freaking full. And we don't know what we're going to do with our lives, but emptying out the hard drive seems like our primary goal. But yeah, so this is what you'll do. And you're going to get some great ones and you're going to get some that just make you go, wow, that's modern art, and not helpful. But it is a numbers game. It's like if you ever done a job that involves sales, they say if you make 50 phone calls, you're going to get 2 appointments. And out of every 10 appointments, you're going to get 1 sale. So if you do that math backwards, you know how many phone calls you have to make in order to get a certain number of sales. And it's just this, it's the same way with this. Like, I don't even know what that is. That's some sort of a horrible, like, Jack the Ripper scene from a movie. But again, if we go into our image browser here and we load, and it's going to show you what you're loading here, then you'll be able to see what you're looking at. What is that nightmare? Fresh and exciting. So we can go and find images that we love. And like this one I kind of liked. And there's favorites. And I wonder if that's what this collect button is for. Go back to favorites and load it. Does it have anything? We do. Loading it. Okay, so that's what collect does. Then now we know. So collect moves it into your favorites folder, which I'm betting from my Stable Diffusion install from my Jupyter notebook here. If we look at this outputs. Text it. They're a favorites folder. So it's not in there. Where'd you put it? I'm not really sure where it's storing the favorites. Normally it would put them in here. Yeah, I I saw a really funny meme the other day that was like, if Stable Diffusion rendered all the Disney movie princesses in one thing, and it was really well done, and all these extra arms and legs and stuff. That one's pretty cool. I like that one. So let's take that one for example. So this is how I would typically work. Although I'm getting some really interesting stuff. This is almost from Silent Hill going on. Let's right click and cancel generate forever. Go into our image browser. Back here. Page up here. Let's go back. So we got one that we kind of like. There's a few of them in here that I kind of like. I like this one. Done that to text to image. That in here, and it's the seed that's important to this. So if we generate it again, we'll get the same one. But now let's mess it up. Instead of vampire, let's add Cthulhu in here. You knew it was coming, right? It was going to happen. We have to do the Cthulhu thing. Huge H.P. Lovecraft fan. I've been reading him since teeny tiny. There we go. So there's the same image we had before, but now it's more Cthulhu-esque. So if we go back to the image browser, you can see what we had there versus loaded now. This is kind of like MidJourney's new remix capability, right? Except that we are able to take and not just remix it, but change it substantially. So I have a lot more tentacles going on in that one than we do in this one. It's kind of refined it a bit. Let's go back. So we're not going to change the seed. We're just going to keep changing the prompt, right? So let's do tentacles. Spell it right. Let's add some more sampling steps. And if we change our sampler here, we may get a completely different picture, which I don't want to do, but may want to up my steps to see if I can get more out of it or not. Again, I did a whole video on what steps make sense for each sampler and when it just kind of like is not worth your time anymore. But most of them got 50, sometimes to 100, and sometimes they went all the way up. But this was still very, very helpful. This size is fine. I'm not going to use restore faces. I don't really need to do that there. Is there anything else I can do? We can run it this way. We can let it modify this image every time it goes. So let's say we modify it by 20% each time. So this is taking this seed. It's using a random seed as a variation of this and applying this variation at 20% strength against the previous image. So if we generate forever here. Again, the goal is to, can I make one piece I absolutely love, right? That's the whole goal. Say 20% is maybe a bit aggressive. But you can see what it's doing now. It's just taking that initial one and applying that over and over again with variational strength. I think this back up here. Come on. Yeah, that's an annoying little bug, isn't it? Okay, so that hopefully be done. Make sure that it's done. Second here. Okay, it looks like it's done. Let's go back. Let's load this one back into text to image again. Let's do extra, but let's do a variational strength that's much lower, like 0.1 here. Can I talk a little about AI art, selling AI art commercially? Yes, actually, there's some news about that this morning too. I think it's Stock. I can't remember. Shutterstock has said that this morning they're going to start letting people. They partner with the OpenAI. So you'll be able to start selling your OpenAI images. And then what they're going to do with the commission from that is they're going to actually give some to each person that's involved. So if OpenAI is using a certain model, then the people who help make that model are going to get some of your money and so on. So you're going to end up with just like stock photography now. You know, they sell an image for $85 and the photographer gets $3 of that. Well, it's going to kind of stay that same way. Yeah, this is getting pretty cool. All right, so I like this. Let's drop our variational strength down a little bit and see if we can make it wiggle a little bit. We can set our batch count. So if we want to say generate just 10 of these, we can do that too, instead of, right clicking and generating forever. Yeah. So I don't think I put the link in the description, but I'm going to do a video on actually how I sell my stuff. So I sell art in galleries. And so I have gallery showings where I have 20 to 30 pieces that are all hung up and shown. Did I click generate? I swear I did. Right. Am I generating the same image over and over again? I should show a full version of that. Huh. I don't know why that's not working. Anyway, yeah, so my images, oh, my camera's no battery now. Oh, there we go. It just generated all 10. It did not wait for me. Okay, so there we go. So you can see what that 0.02 did. Just very small generation modification. Let's up it to 10%. Let's try it again. So that's what's doing. It's just generating the 10. Anyway, yeah, so I put my images, or my work goes into galleries, and I've been doing this for probably a decade now. So you got to print them. So here's the thing. When you sell in a gallery, a real gallery, you have to print them first. They have to be up on a wall. People can touch them. Well, you don't want to touch them, but people can touch them. Canvases, metals, acrylics, like whatever fits your style or the style of the image you're creating, you're going to hang that up. And then the gallery typically gets 30 to 50%. That's how galleries stay in business. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm going to sell this thing for $300, getting it printed, and you want to not go cheap with the printing. So I use a company called HH Color Lab. They do not sponsor this channel, but they sponsor me as a speaker. So I use them for everything, literally. All right, so how does this turn out? Well, here we go. This 20% variation gave us some nice little variations here. So this is what I'll do is I'll find a picture that I pretty much like, and then see if I can find something that's a little bit better, like just throwing these random variations at it. And again, you can set this batch strength up to, I think they have it to 100 now. It used to only be like 16 or something goofy like that. Let's do a little bit more variation strength. Anyway, so yeah, you'll hang them in a gallery. You have to print them really nice, because a person's going to pay money for good art. They're going to pay $300-$500 minimum to get that piece of art on their wall. They're not going to want a crappy canvas from some big box store. You're going to have to get it printed at a real lab, because this thing's going to need to last 100 years. It's got to feel like it's a piece of quality. It's not going to fade in the sunlight. It's going to be a very nicely done coated piece of art. So you're going to pay a couple $100 maybe to get that thing printed. Okay, so what are you going to sell it for now? If you sell it for $400 and the studio or the gallery takes half, that means you end up with nothing. That's why if you go through art galleries and you see that the pictures are $1,500, $2,000, $2,500, so the artist would get half. Say it's $2,500. The artist is going to get half of that minus the printing cost, so they're going to end up with like maybe $1,000 out of the whole thing. And they're selling it for $2,500. And people are like, well, I won't do that. I'll just sell them as NFTs. Right. Like, that's going to work out real well, because nobody else has that idea. No one else is selling 1 million pictures of whatever they're making every day for NFTs. I have sold NFTs, right? But the thing you got to remember about those is that you have to be unique. And if you're just spraying and praying through MidJourney stuff, or Stable Diffusion stuff for that matter, you got to come up with something fantastic. I had an image yesterday I put on Facebook that I really loved. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. And it got like, I mean, it's still getting likes on it. A lot of likes. Where we're at. Yeah, so I'm at 539 likes on this one and 6 shares outside of that. This image is huge, by the way. It's 12 or 14,000 pixels on the long edge. I ran it through that chainer upscaler. I did a whole video on how to do that, and then I took it into Photoshop, and then I started working on all the little nitpicky pieces to make it amazing. I didn't stop at that. But I could probably turn around, I could sell those in NFT. But the way I would do it is I'd say, if you buy the NFT, which would probably be, again, $2,000 to $4,000. So probably sell it for, say, 2 Ethereum or 3 Ethereum or maybe 4 Ethereum. And I would give them a print, the nice same print that I would give a gallery, but I don't have to give the money, half the money to the gallery. So that has worked out. I've sold a couple pieces that way. But the gallery is more like, how can I describe this? Your gallery is where your people shop, right? Let's look at these pictures real quick here. I was talking too much and not looking through. That one's extra creepy. What's going on there? So this variation might be, this strength might be a bit much. Like there's too much variation between these, although it's interesting. Anyway, so that's how I'll find a prompt that I like and then kind of work my way through it to figure out what parts of it that I really want to keep or what parts I love. Camera. Anyway, I was showing the screen here, but I'm talking to the camera. So when think about your gallery where you're showing it. So if you say you paint saw blades, right? There's a lot of people at farmers markets. I live in Wisconsin here. We got a lot of people who paint saw blades. Do you think that a painted saw blade is going to go really well at a fine art museum? Or do you think a piece of fine art, like it's a white canvas with a red square in the middle, do you think that's going to do well at a farmer's market, right? So you have to think about the gallery you're showing and the piece you're selling. So if you are trying to sell this fantastic piece of art on OpenSea, and OpenSea is an NFT platform for basically anybody because they charge nothing. It's free. It's what they call delayed minting or what they call it. It's like delayed minting. So you don't pay the fee until it sells. So like every kid in the world is uploading as many as they can, as fast as they can. It is extremely hard to find anything on there that's worth anything in my mind. It's all horrible illustrations of things that are in sets of 10,000 that are collectibles. You're not buying stuff that you love. You're buying something you think might be worth something because of this whole horrible cartoon thing that's going on in the NFT market, which I don't get at all. I mean, I get it as an investment standpoint, but I don't want that art. That's just icky to me. When you see people on Fiverr who are willing to make you $10,000 for literally, or 10,000 images for literally $10, then you're going to mint all those things for free and throw them up on OpenSea. Yeah, you're not the first person who's thought of that. There's like 1 million people on OpenSea that are doing this every day, and it's so irritating. So OpenSea is now where I'm going to sell that piece of art, this piece that I worked on for hours. I mean, it started with an AI piece, but I photoshopped so many different images together to make that piece. And then it's huge. As I say, it's 12 or 14,000 pixels on the long edge. It's giant. And the level of detail in that piece is fantastic. It's again, there's a lot going on there. I'm not going to put that on OpenSea because that's not the gallery where my shopper lives. My shopper or my collector doesn't go to OpenSea to buy my kind of thing, right? They're going because they want one of those collectible NFT things. So I'm going to try and find an NFT space that sells what I sell. So I was on Foundation originally, and Foundation, I sold pieces on Foundation because Foundation was curated and you have to pay to mint, which immediately eliminates every kid who's got like, oh man, I made 14,000 images on MidJourney this afternoon. I'm going to put them all up on OpenSea. Okay, completely plausible. Are any of those going to sell? Probably not. Would you, and there's another question, would you buy a piece of fine art from a person who has 14,000 pieces of art and none of them have sold? Well, you would if you loved it, but would you buy it from a standpoint of, oh, it's going to be worth a lot more money someday, so I'm going to buy it and then flip it? You know, that's not really sounding appropriate, right? You want art that's collectible and that you love. You want both. If you get both those things, you've sold your piece of art. So if you find a person who's buying it just so they can flip it, well, that's what the NFT cartoon world is for. But if you have a person who buys your piece because they absolutely love it, that's a different person. Now, if they're buying it, they love it, and they think they can sell it someday, you have just sold that piece. Again, you can sell things in galleries for $2,000 to $5,000 or up. I mean, that's how people make a living, right? This is my full-time job. I am a fine art boudoir photographer. That is all I do. So I have gallery showings and I sell art, and I have to make enough money from it to make it worth my house and my car and my food, and my wife likes to eat too. So don't try and sell yourself short on the limit side of that. Know your market and who you're trying to sell it to. If you're selling it in a certain gallery, sell your art in the gallery that has your collector at it. Again, if you're selling painted saw blades and you got farmers who love painted saw blades, then you sell them at that farmer's market. You don't sell them in the fine art gallery. So pick your gallery and then go. And same thing with NFTs, same thing with any AI art you make, you decide to print. I bet there are a bunch of you watching this right now that have really good work, Like you've made some really great AI work, and maybe you've augmented it later. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you just said, I'm just going to keep it because I love it. And you print it. You're going to find that you probably have enough pieces that you could do a gallery showing. And I don't know the gallery is going to poo-poo on the fact that it's AI art. They're going to, obviously, it's how they make a living too. Remember, they get half of whatever you're selling it for. So you go in there with the right attitude and say, I'm selling these pieces. They cost me maybe $100 each to print on a really nice canvas that's collectible, that doesn't feel cheap. Don't skimp on that, by the way. That's why I use like HH Color Lab instead of using, again, something local that was printed for half the price. I want it to be really nice. So I've got $100. So I know to do a gallery showing, I know right away I'm going to spend about $1,500 of my own money, right? So you're going to put that in a gallery. They're going to take half or 30%. If you've shown in a gallery repeatedly and you do well, a little over half my pieces tend to sell at my showing. So if I showed 24 pieces, then I'll come home and I'll maybe have 11 or 9 that did not sell, which is great. So the gallery made money, I made money. So the next time I go to the gallery and say, I want to do another gallery showing, they're like, yeah, that would be great. We would love to have you. We'll take less commission if you do another showing with us. And I have some galleries I've done 4 or 5 showings at over the years. But it doesn't matter if it's AI art or your art, or what I like to do is augment this art. So not that I have had any AI art in a gallery yet, because this is relatively new, and my next gallery showing isn't until, I think, February. I totally forgot about that I even had that scheduled. I got to call the gallery and figure out how that's going to happen. Anyway, I would probably print this, and then I would probably take paint and paint over the top of part of it with actual paint, because then it's hand done, or what they call artist augmented, which is worth more money. So is AI art augmented only if you edit it yourself? Would you say AI art is augmented art? No, I wouldn't say it's not augmented. Augmented would be that you've improved it or changed it. So if it's just AI generated art and you didn't alter it at all, I would not use the word augmented. So it's just art, generated art. But could someone with the exact same prompt that you have and the exact same seed generate something that's almost what you did? Yes. So you have to be careful there, in that you are no longer a special flower, right? Everyone around you has a MidJourney account, and everyone around you saw the prompt you used, which is I pay for private, by the way, in MidJourney, because I want it to be mine. But again, it looks like MidJourney. MidJourney stuff all has a MidJourney feel to it, and it's really easy to spot. Stable Diffusion stuff is a lot more varied. Remember, MidJourney runs on top of Stable Diffusion, right? It has a specific look, but Stable Diffusion itself doesn't really have so much a look, but it still looks sometimes like it's computer generated. So I'll print it, and then I will paint on that canvas with actual paint, like acrylic paint. I'm not an oil paint person, but I'll use acrylic paint and paint over the top of that and give it some impasto, which is where you see the 3-dimensional, like the swipe of paint that's too thick. I like that kind of look in some places, the brush strokes. I don't have to paint over the whole darn picture, right? But you do want to augment it. And then it's worth more money if you augment it, because now there's one piece. There's only one piece that is that piece of art in the world. Now, it doesn't say that you have to do one-ofs at galleries, but typically the rarer the number or editions, the more it's worth. So in my art, for example, I tend to print 10. If you want one of my pieces, I have one back here, but let me pick it off the wall. Since we're talking about this, here, so this is one piece, and you can see that you can see the brush strokes, and if I get the light on it right, and I'm failing. In other words, brush strokes on this piece. This piece is, again, this is an original. This is one of one. So there's only one of these in the world. And I have this one here because it didn't sell at the first gallery showing I had, but I had an offer on it. But I think it's worth a lot more, so I decided not to sell it, because I really like it. That piece is rarer, so it's worth more money. And I think you've got to, from a strategy standpoint, decide, is what you're making rare? Are you making, like, I've seen so many people mint horrible. I'm like, what is that? The head is wrong. It's kind of messed up. It's really messed up. It's not kind of messed up. It's really messed up. You didn't know how to Photoshop anything, so you didn't fix it. So now you put it out there and you're like, hey, big sale. I'm selling it for 0.0002 TES. and I've minted 25,000 of them. Buy them today. And I'm like, why? Why? I mean, unless I like you and I'm trying to support you, I would rather just give you a donation and say, here, go make some more art. I don't want that thing. So whenever I show the public, whenever someone sees my art, I'm really picky about what I show. I make a lot of horrible things, right? I make a lot of horrible art and no one ever sees it. I take a lot of horrible pictures. I'm like, well, that is just like, I had two sessions yesterday, 2 sessions the day before that, and I have 1 session this afternoon. There are a lot of pictures I take that no one ever sees because they're bad. Be the same way when you're doing AI art, right? Be picky about what you show. Don't show everything. On my Discord channel, there's a show and tell page. Some of the stuff that people post is amazing. And I'm like, wow, that is really nice. And some of it is just horrible. But if it's really nice, but is it also unique? Does it look like everyone else's stuff? Well, you got to break out of that. It's just like a photographer, right? The lady who lives behind me is a photographer. She has, I don't think she has the same camera I do, but she might. Completely different attitude toward how we photograph, completely different subject matter, completely different style, because we are very unique people. Like our styles are unique. My pricing is unique compared to hers, for example. I'm very expensive compared to her, but again, her strategy is different. Like, she's not doing it to support her family. So that's my full-time gig. I support my family this way. So I am more expensive. You know, a typical high school senior will spend between $900 and $2,400 with me in general. I have had seniors that have spent way more than that. And I've had seniors that have spent less. But when you come to me, you know, this is pretty much about what my average is for the quality of what I'm going to give you and so on. The same thing with my AI art. If I'm going to generate art and I'm not going to take hours to make it because it's mostly handed to me, what can I charge for it? Is it unique enough? I don't think out of the box it's good enough. Now, I do have some of my magic bullet prompts that are mine that I haven't showed anybody. They're mine. And they're weird because they're combinations of artists that don't make sense, but yet that what pumps out of there is awesome. And I've been using those to create art that I haven't seen anybody else make. But again, I'm going to print that. I'm going to take it. I'm going to bring it into Photoshop, first of all, and I'm going to fix it. I'm going to make it mine, change the things that make it not great. Weird eyes, long necks, goofy hands. Fix it, right? Make it as good as you can and then print it and sell it. And if you can't get it as good as you can, then work on that skill, right? Take Photoshop classes. On this YouTube channel, there is a Couch to Photoshop class. I think it's 15 episodes long. If you take that, you will have everything you need to be able to go and edit any of these Stable Diffusion pictures and make them great. Remove the goofy hands, fix the goofy eyes. All that kind of stuff is in here. But the Inpainting tools and other things like that Stable Diffusion is offering are really kind of helping that. But again, that ability to go in and nuance it yourself, that's priceless. And that's the thing that will make you a better artist and be able to sell a lot more imagery. To say that's my full-time job. I do nothing but sell imagery. That's all I do. So, I mean, aside from my YouTube channel now, right? So I have people who help support this channel. Hey, let me show my patrons, right? I have a patron slide. These are the fine people that keep this channel alive. So I appreciate you all. You guys are awesome. And you're keeping it here. I will talk about how I sell things online because I do have some online vendors where I do sell things, and we're not talking NFTs, right? We're talking actual prints. So you can buy my art online. Now, I have not been selling my AI art online. I've been selling my other art online, and I do not use what you think I use. There's a lot of people who use some of these big art sites. I do not use them. I use a different way. I find it to be, again, more unique. I can target my market, and I don't have to worry about trying to compete against everybody who's racing to the bottom. Like, to people, a lot of people, like, as a photographer, you're like, what I need to do is I need to make myself cheaper. That way I'll book more people. No, that's the other direction. The bottom end of the pricing scale is not your customer. They're the most demanding people because they're spending a little bit of their hard-earned money and they want everything for it. They are the most demanding clients. when people spend more money, they tend to really kind of appreciate you as an artist, and they spend less. So that's the long-ass answer to that question you asked. Do I think DALL-E 3 comes out, DALL-E 2 will be open source? No, never. OpenAI will never make DALL-E open source. Never. And you can tell just by the sheer amount of words that you can't use on that site. They do not want anyone having that in their home to be able to do horrible things with it. And it's the edge cases, as Emad said from Stable Diffusion. It's the few really horrible elements of our society. You know, the same, like right now they're trying the idiot who drove through the parade in the city that's just south of me who killed like 20 people. There's idiots in our world, and there are idiots in this whole AI art world too. And they just want to get hold of some of these models and make some horrific imagery that they shouldn't make. Well, that's the problem that we've got now. Stable Diffusion is trying to control that, because you don't want, let's say somebody makes some horrible image and then puts it out there and say, I made this in Stable Diffusion. That's the problem. And it's the same thing that DALL-E 2 is really good at creating photos that don't exist. I think it looks like it was trained on stock photography, right? I mean, that's how it feels. So if you say, I want a cat with a hand grenade, it'll give you a pretty damn good picture of a cat with a hand grenade. That's what it's really good at. Well, give that to that horrible element of society, and what kind of imagery is going to pop out of it? And then say, hey, made this with DALL-E 2. There is no way in the world they're going to let that into that population. There's no way. And yes, most of us don't have that evil intention, but it's that edge case. It's the horrible element of society out there that's wrecking it for everybody else. What's funny is there's a saying, and it's not wrong, is the porn industry drives everything. It really pushes hard on everything. And it's you think about it, from internet traffic to developments in video to kind of like the whole internet itself. That industry drives forward because it's in such high demand that it causes technology to evolve faster than it would normally. It has to keep up with that industry. You can see that once this gets out there, and I'm sure there are already models. I mean, I know that there are a lot of like waifu diffusion, which is it's a play on words actually, for wife in Japanese. It's supposed to be like an anime type of thing. And there's some great anime stuff out there. Like we generated some today. But when you have, sorry, I'm just reading at the same time you guys are typing. When you are trying to create anime art, that's fine. But there are also the hentai art right there, and they're taking that as far as they can. So it's becoming this very pornographic thing, which again, in the AI anime universe, I guess that's kind of part and parcel to the way that it operates. But to take that same thing and apply it to now what looks like actual people, or even actual people that you know or recognize, it becomes a significant problem. And it's not one that you can ignore. And it's not one that these people who own these products or own the technology behind them can ignore. But again, that porn industry is the one that is going to be causing a lot of this to evolve very quickly, because they're going to monetize it. They're going to take advantage of the fact that there are a lot of people who are going to buy this stuff. And it has driven forward so many industries in the modern tech world that it also applies here. So we just got to be careful about the edge cases. It's that, you know, I guess pornographic imagery in general, or nudity in general, doesn't bother me. I photograph a lot of nudity. Like a lot of the women that come to me are getting mastectomies, so their breasts are coming off. And they're coming to me for their final like book for their husband or whatever, or for themselves before they are surgically altered forever. I see a lot of nudity. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. It's not weird. It's just a naked woman. It's a big deal. So boobs, there's a lot of boobs in my pictures in here because that's what I photograph. Not just boobs, you know what I'm saying? But it's not bizarre, but it's that, you know, you get into these people who, again, it's the edge case people. They can't have this. They can't have these nice things. They're going to wreck it for everybody. So what about the ones who don't limit their prompts? Yeah, I think like the Stable Diffusion 1.5 that we all have now, you know, it seems like, and I may be wrong, but it seems a little less nude oriented than 1.4 did. So I think maybe they retrained the model on a little less nudity. which doesn't bother me at all. I mean, the amount of nudity I get out of it is fine. Again, I just need, sometimes I want a hint of breast at the top. I don't really need, or maybe a butt cheek. That's all I need sometimes to complete the work that I'm trying to do, or an idea I have. Because I want to take some of my photography and intermingle it with the AI stuff. But that's fine. But I can see where some of these hyper networks and things that people are training are going to become that edge case potentially. And I'm concerned about that, but I don't know how to control it. I don't know the answer for that either. I mean, these guys who own this stuff, they're facing a nightmare. And I see why Congress, there's a couple people in Congress who say this should all be outlawed, just get rid of it. That's not going to happen either. What's going to happen is they'll get rid of it for the general population. And then again, your edge cases will be the only people who keep it. So, because they're not going to listen to the law anyway. What they're doing is already against the law. And so, yeah. But anyway, I went off on a really long couple of tirades there. Sorry. It's the sales thing, and this whole where it's going is really interesting to me. And I'm concerned about it. Just like, that's why OpenAI or DALL-E will never be available. And I don't disagree with it. I do not think that as convenient as it would be for me able to have my own AI generation tools like that in my house and to be able to use for stock photography that I need, I don't mind paying the tiny amount that they charge for those things, because it keeps the rest of that, those horrible people in their place effectively, and hopefully trackable by police and do all of that kind of stuff. And we're talking about, I'm not talking about like porn here. We're talking about like that next level kind of stuff, which I'm not going to talk about. Anyway, that's what I got for today, guys. That was a really long ass rant. I appreciate you hanging out and asking some great questions today. That was really fun. I'm sure I'll do another one here. I am leaving for Portland on Thursday. So if you are in the Portland, Oregon area, I will be speaking there on Friday. So it's, I believe, the Oregon State Convention. So I'll be speaking there. That's photography, lighting, post-production, and there'll probably be some AI thrown in there as well. I think I have the whole day or most of the day on my own platform there. I think there's more than one presenter or speaker. So I'll be there on Friday. So if you're in Portland, Oregon, come see me there. I'm sure there's information about that online somewhere. It's the PPA, so Professional Photographers Association of America, Portland, Oregon's chapter there is who I'm going to speak for. So I'll be there, and then you catch me in, I got a whole bunch of presentations. After the first of the year, I am everywhere. I'm in Lubbock, Texas. I'm in Texas, Addison, Texas then. I'm in Orlando, Nashville. I'm all over the darn place. So Falcon says, trained a dream booth model on your face in only 7 images and use stable diffusion. Came out so realistic, my friends and family didn't notice a difference. Well, it's not an edge case. That's actually pretty cool. But imagine that tool will, I'm certain, get into the porn industry and all these other industries and be completely used, which, I mean, it's going to happen, right? It's just going to happen. It's just, we don't want the kid people, the people that are into the really, like, it's illegal for a reason type of porn. Those people need to not have these tools. And I get why there's so much concern about it. But yeah, I mean, I can see training it on your own face and I want to do it on mine. Like I've done it on a few others to kind of experiment with it, and it is great. It works out fantastically well. I actually try to do, as I talked about earlier, try to do one on hands. So I have a whole bunch of photography of hands, and I uploaded like 200 some odd images into it, but I just did not get past the multiple fingers thing. I got to redo that. And I did it as a textual inversion, and I should probably do it as a hypernetwork. I think the difference between them, like why use one over another, I don't know the answer to that yet. And that's part of this experimentation. I spend a lot of my day playing with these tools and seeing what they can and cannot do. Like this whole, well, it's not on here now, that creative gradient or aesthetic gradient stuff. I have no idea. Like, I do not find it that useful. I use it more for morphing an image or nudging it in a certain direction. But I can do that with, like what we did here later when we hit the extras and we just kind of altered the image a little bit with some additional noise each time. So that all worked out well. But anyway, thanks for hanging out with me today. If you didn't click the like button and you liked this rant, click the like button. If you like more of this, hit subscribe. I do have some other videos that are not quite related to this. I have a laser cutter and I've been playing with it. I've been making a whole bunch of art, and I've been making a custom Catan board. Like I'm into game Catan, and I have a couple of my pieces done now. So I have my green piece done. I'm going to do a couple of videos on this. I know it's kind of different to the channel, but eventually my hope is to take the laser cutter and combine it with AI art and make some actual physical pieces of art. Again, is everybody else doing that? Nope. And again, it's that be unique. Being unique means you can sell things and you get to pick your price because you're the only person selling it, right? If you want what I do, I'm the only person who sells that. And then you have to pay my price. So I'm thinking the same way. I'm going to take and kind of combine this art with that art. And it's a different direction. I haven't done it yet, but it's where I want to go. I did make some stickers though, which I thought was kind of fun. In fact, to look at my sticker. Right here. Playing with this, a die cut sticker. Isn't that cute? Die cut sticker. This is a fun little prompt, but I can make these and then maybe die cut them out or cut them on the laser. I got all these like weird. Anyway, that's what I have for today. That was my rant for today. I went way over the Halloween thing and then into the far reaches there. Anyway, thanks for hanging with me, you guys. I'm sure I'll be back. I might live stream from Oregon. I haven't decided yet. I don't know if you guys think that's interesting or not. So we'll see. Anyway, that's what I have. Everybody, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys all next time.